Aftermath has introduced some changes in the form of armor breaking and new characters to learn and to play as and against. But it's not just those things that have altered the competitive MK11 experience, it's the balance changes that existing characters receive too. There are some variations that have kind of slipped on by with some upgrades that make them a lot more dangerous. One of them is Shaman Nightwolf. This variation was already silently talked about by some Nightwolf players as being potentially underrated, but now it's undoubtedly extremely good, making Nightwolf in tournament a character with more than one consistent variation now. Matoka Warrior was often seen as the main and most useful variation to take, but Shaman now kind of shares that workload. This video is to quickly go over both variations and run down why each has a place in the competitive meta. I am seeing people say that Shaman has simply overtaken Matoka Warrior, and that's not 100% true, and I'll hopefully explain why. So, starting with Shaman, what does this variation do fundamentally? First of all, Rhino Charge is replaced by Spirit Tracks, the low roll attack. Additionally, you can amplify it to launch in this variation. Arrow is replaced by Lightning Arrow, a mid-hitting arrow that will knock down on hit, and it can still be held and cancelled just like the base arrow. This variation can very much slow the pace down a lot. Lightning Arrow is easily one of the best projectiles in the game because it does great damage and knocks the opponent down when it connects. Any projectile that does knock down tends to be a really good attack in NetherRealm games to trade projectiles with from far away. But that's just one piece of the full screen puzzle, because he also keeps the Reflect, which can send projectiles back anyway. Combining the Lightning Arrow and Reflect together makes his zoning and counter-zoning game very strong indeed. I'm not very good at it because I don't play the character much, but we're already seeing players like King Gambler and a Foxy Grandpa, for example, using this variation and really slowing down the pace. However, this game plan was always the Shaman thing, even before Aftermath. The issue that it had was that Spirit Tracks Amplify didn't combo off a lot of strings, which cut the combo damage of this variation quite considerably. Quite a few of those confirms had to be just string into Lightning Arrow, and whilst it's better than nothing, it's still not that great. Another problem was that the combo strings that you would use the most, like 111 for example, didn't combo into Spirit Tracks Amp either. This has since changed in Aftermath, and now pretty much everything he has will combo into the Amp Spirit Tracks for a full launcher. Let's take a quick look at some of those strings in action. Basically, yeah, everything, right? The combo damage isn't that bad at all either. It is different to some of the other variations, but even something as simple as string into launch into dash 3-1 arrow does like 25% damage. You can go higher with different enders, but Lightning Arrow has got quite a long startup, so ending it after combos has to be done earlier than most specials. Going bigger with enders like 3-1 into dash 2-2-2 gives good Oki. Dash into down 2 is a high damage ender, but as you can see they're quite far away. Basically, a launch means great damage, and the arrow knockdown by itself is strong for Oki. What this change has done is allow Shaman to play the exact same up-close game of Auto Shimmy 111 versus a loopable grab, and to get the same grounded confirms that Matoka Warrior was back then exclusively able to do. So up close, we have the same general game plan of grab versus string into launch confirm, and far away, we still keep the dangerous zoning or counter-zoning game of Shaman. This is why some people claim that Shaman is simply the new variation that you should be playing, and it has the added bonus of not being that complicated to play. I've only used him for a couple of days casually, and the general idea is already there. It's a lot of fun too. However, Matoka Warrior still has a place, and we see it put to use in online events. Allow me to explain why. If you've seen competitive Nightwolf, you've seen this variation in action. We gain the Tomahawk Launcher and the Spirit of Kiba buff, which increases our damage output. I'm not really going to cover this damage buff at all though, because we truly don't see it a lot in tournaments, and the main thing this variation gets picked for is the launcher by all accounts. Any string into launch into dash 111 Rhino Charge is great damage. Easy execution, and the Rhino Charge itself has good knockdown frames to go in after for more pressure. Nightwolf's grab versus string game is incredibly strong, and this variation was the first to truly take advantage of that plan. Rhino Charge itself is super fast, a great whiff punisher from far away, and also useful for late jump-ins that nothing else will chase down. The speed and knockdown properties make Rhino Charge one of the better charge-based attacks in the entire game, and Shaman loses this for Spirit Tracks, which is quite the hit for players that wanted to stay at mid-range and constantly look for max distance whiff punishment. It's one of the reasons that some players have said still that they prefer this variation. They like the Rhino Charge. But also, look at the base arrow attack. You can fire multiple shots off Amplify, but you can still hold it down or cancel it. Some players prefer this version of the arrow because they don't play Nightwolf as a long-distance character, and if you want to brawl and stay up close, you don't need Lightning Arrow. You keep the Reflect too, so it's not like you have no answer to projectiles yourself from far ranges. The base arrow is often something that players just prefer to play with. One of the biggest and most important things about this variation now, though, is the conversions and combos, something Shaman still cannot do as well compared to Matoka Warrior. First of all, Nightwolf gets the classic meterless launch from base Tomahawk launcher in the corner. Yes, this combo is quite tricky, but the fact is, this launch in the corner does really good damage, it's easy to hit confirm into, and it can still end in the meterless Rhino Charge. Shaman doesn't have this tool, which does weaken the close range corner game, as it entirely depends on your resources. Secondly, much larger combos. The corner BNB starting from meterless launch, again, is very tricky, but it does really strong damage for a single bar. But on a more base level, any confirm into double launcher surpasses damage that Shaman is able to obtain from the exact same situations. Even though Shaman can compete with the 1 bar damage, 2 bar damage is an option that Matoka Warrior can still surpass. This can be applied to crushing blows that launch, because again, comboing into this launcher is much faster and easier. And a final situation you'd look to confirm for is air-to-airs, being able to do something as simple as like forward 1-2 launcher into dash forward 1-2 charge. It's really strong damage, and it's consistent off almost any confirm as well. When we're talking about conversion potential, with Shaman, it's essentially a basic string in the air into Lightning Arrow. The damage is okay, but it's not that great either. Matoka Warrior can confirm into the amplified launcher, into Rhino Charge, into much more consistent conversion damage. My point is, Nightwolf is now a character with 2 variations that play MK11 extremely well. Shaman is fantastic for range and counterzoning, while still maintaining that fundamental Nightwolf grab versus string mix-up. And Matoka Warrior, while still having that same up-close mix-up, gets more damage, combos, and conversion potential. But the utility of just how much Lightning Arrow slows down the pace makes both variations really strong in their own way. I don't think one is a clean cut above the other. I think they're both solid, and if you're a Nightwolf player, it would be advised to learn both of them. Sorry I haven't done a video like this in a while. I've been doing loads of remote commentary from home during the worldwide situation, which has eaten into my schedule considerably. But hopefully this was a fun and useful watch all the same. Thanks for watching. Perhaps consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed it, and stick around for more content to come. Take care.